I am going to have my favorite meal in a minute, though. Just letting you know, lads.
That's fine, mate. That's cool. That's cool.
Real life situations, yeah?
Yeah, for real. Right, let's kick this off. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Bodybuilding Unfiltered Ep.4. We are joined today by a very, very special guest. You will know him for sure if you're watching the podcast. We have got Kuba. What's up, man?
What's happening, boys?
Yep. Not too much. How you doing?
What's happening?
Yeah, man, not too bad. So, Kuba, give yourself a brief outline and your sort of background with bodybuilding. Obviously, it's quite a broad question, but...
Brief outline. Do you want to start or just a brief one? The brief outline. So, I started competing when I was 16. I started coaching when I was 18. And that pretty much started off from there. Obviously, as you know, I came to England when I was 11 as a little boy. Started off with boxing. Obviously, while I was boxing, there was a little bit of a gym in there as well for obviously doing a bit of weight. So that's pretty much how it all went from there. I finished boxing when I was 15. Did my first show at 16, and then pretty much did every single junior show I could have get my hands on. Yeah. So the history went on from there, year by year, show by show, step by step. So we kind of got going from there. And you know yourself, once you start and you fall in love with it, then there's no going back. It's all or nothing then.
Yeah. How many shows have you done now? Do you know?
All of them.
Do you reckon you've got a count still?
Oh, man. How many shows have I done? A lot. As a junior, I think as an under 18, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, like 8 shows as an under 18.
Wow.
And then as a junior under 21, I did another probably about 6, I think.
And have you always placed in those shows? Have you always had a top 3 or a top spot finish?
I pretty much won every junior show I did. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And then there's me still on fucking 0.
I was gonna say, Jamie might tie you on failed preps, mate. Your prep completion to Jamie's fail will level out soon.
I was lucky to be fair, but you know I've always worked hard for it, and I've always in junior days I was always a little bit ahead of people just because of the amount of commitment I could always give to it. So I always found that I had a bit of an edge over everyone else, and that was pretty much the same. That was pretty much the same all up to 2017. Obviously, the only time I didn't really win was when I did the amateur Olympic in 2018 when I came 4th in the heavyweights. Which that was the first year really. Apart from 2017, I did do the heavyweights British finals. Apart from that, that was like first time really going into all out men's heavyweight class. And in that class there was 24 people in. And out of that, there was like 6 previous British champions as well. So it was a decent enough lineup.
Still a good placement.
Most of them didn't even really come in. I think they even come in like top 6. So it was a good lineup, to be honest.
So did you used to coach yourself when you were a junior? Did you do it by yourself? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I coached myself up until after the UK BFF British finals. I did the overall with Big James Hollingshead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet you mind about that now.
Yeah, that was the same year. That was the same year he won his pro card. But,
wow.
Yes, I've always coached myself pretty much up until I started working with JP.
Yeah. So JP was your first coach.
Pretty much like a serious coach. I've always had people that
around your help,
but it was never anything proper, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
It was always pretty much like, do this and do that. And half the time, I didn't really listen to him anyway because the advice didn't really make no sense.
Yeah. So that's the thing. A lot of the time, everyone's got a different way of doing things. So if you listen to too many people, it just messes things up.
Don't get me wrong, it all works as long as you stick to one method. If you try and do multiple methods at the same time, then it's not going to work. But again, there's many different ways to skin a cat. Some are more effective than others. And it's one of them things. Everyone's got a different way of doing things, and And that's fine. Do you know what I mean? That's the beauty of the game. Like, if it was all the same, then it'd probably be a little bit different, wouldn't it? So,
yeah.
How did you and Jordan cross paths then? How did that become a thing?
I actually spoke to Jordan a little bit while I was in prep in 2017. And while I was in prep in 2017, I actually emailed a couple of world-known coaches saying, look, like, I'd like some info. I would probably like to work with you after my show, after the British finals, because I wanted to see it through by myself.
Yeah.
And he didn't get back to me really for a couple of weeks. And then I won my qualifier as a junior, and then 3 weeks later I did another qualifier as a heavyweight, and I won that. And then as I won the British finals in both classes, then they like started emailing me like every day. Yeah. At that point I was like, nah mate, you're all right. So I was chatting to Jordan quite a bit beforehand, as I had a bit of an injury a few weeks before the show, and Jordan gave me some good solid advice. And I've always done things similar way to Jordan did, because I always followed him. I've always been a member of the site and stuff like that. And I always liked the same methodology that Jordan always had, really. And when it comes to training, etc., I've been always that way inclined. So I think it's nice to be able to work with someone that's kind of got the same kind of passion and drive and the same direction that you want to go in. And like with Jordan, he's always all about progress, and that's not just for bodybuilding, that's in life as well. So he's always wanted to be a better coach, better businessman across the board. And I think I'd rather work with someone that's got the same mentality as me, as I know we're going to gel well together, if it makes sense.
No aspects, 100%. That makes sense.
And was he behind you when you won your pro card?
Yeah. That was our first year working together. Sorry. Yeah, first year. Yeah, first year.
And that's like what, 2-3 years ago now?
2 years ago. Yeah.
What
2018. It was the Alicante. It's actually the same show that I'm doing my pro debut this year. It's the same show.
Oh, that'd be cool, man. That'd be wicked.
I know quite a few people doing that this year, actually. But
I've got 2 classic physique pros.
Yeah.
I've got Jade doing the bikini pro. I've got Meg doing the figure pro.
Yeah.
And then Kamara doing the fitness.
Oh, wow.
And I think I've got like 4 amateurs in that show as well.
Wow.
Awesome. So
I think I'll have probably like 10 people come out with me.
Jeez.
Oh, I've got Jimmy. Jimmy's doing it as well. Before I forget Jimmy. Jimmy's doing it. So hopefully Jimmy will be pro by then. So hopefully he'll do the pro debut. So that'd be pretty cool, you know, if Jimmy turns pro before that. I'll have like, I think, something like eight people doing the pro debuts.
Wow.
One day, including myself.
Yeah.
That's sick. I rate that.
Team Cuba running things.
Yeah.
Decent, man.
So Danny, you were coached by JP for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I was with Jordan I was with him for around 15 to 16 weeks, so obviously not as long as yourself, but I found he did drill, and I know you're very much the same in your approaches, because Jamie comes back to me and goes, Kuba said my form wasn't good enough on this today. Obviously, I was coached by Jordan for a long time, and he did really drill in the whole execution is key, execution is money, progressive overload gets strong. So those methods I've always been drawn to, and a lot of people, you know, they kind of, you're only doing 2 sets, and it's like, I believe if I take myself into, you know, that zone, you can achieve, all 3 of us, I believe, can achieve, especially obviously Kuba, you can achieve in 1 set what they have to do 5 for.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I did yesterday. I did my compound work. I just did 1 working set.
Yeah.
Because I know with the poundage I did and the repetitions I did and the intensity, if I did another set, it would have been pointless. I'm training legs again in 5 days' time, right? So I wouldn't see any merit to doing it anymore. And I know that if I did that extra set yesterday, I would be absolutely smashed today. And my next workout probably wouldn't be able to recover from it as well.
Yeah.
So when you're looking to progress, it's a very fine line. It's almost like you're man on the ledge, because if you push it that 1 bit too far, you're done. And if you don't do that bit extra is not quite enough. So you've got to know that fine balance. But again, if you know how to listen to your body's feedback and obviously looking at the progression that you make, it's a lot easier to make these judgments. But again, to be able to make that judgment by yourself takes a long, long time. Like I've been training, I'm 25 now. And I've been training since I was, 16, like properly. But properly by meaning like just messing about, and I've not really learned how to train properly up until probably 2 years ago. So when you've got to look at it, it probably takes you a good 6-7 years of training before you actually learn how to train properly again. But then again, even when you learn how to train properly again, like there's another world to it. There's another world to it in terms of precision and knowing like what movement complements the next, and like how you can manipulate your training, and like the things you can do to improve are endless with training, and then obviously it's same with nutrition. Like it's endless the progress you can make if you keep kind of digging and exploring more options, if it makes sense. Yeah. I'm not being rude, lad. I'm just eating my eggs.
In
between, do you know what I mean?
I feel like literally when I started training with you again, it literally felt like learning to walk again. Like I felt like everything I ever did in the gym was a fucking waste of time. That's generally how it felt. Obviously, I made some progress, but it's mainly newbie gains. Like the first 3 years of training, you're gonna make gains no matter what if you're moving weight. But obviously now we're sort of moving out of that phase, and I'm no longer getting the same newbie gains. I think it was definitely the right step forward to focus on technique and time under tension. I mean, it literally took me fucking 4 months to learn how to squat properly, but we're finally there.
like I mentioned before, mate, like progressive overload is about the tension you can put through your muscle.
Yeah.
And by what that means, you can sometimes actually lower your load and be able to put more tension through the muscle, which effectively will break down a lot more muscle tissue than using obviously a load that you cannot handle and you can't be precise with. So again, when it comes down to progressive overload and training, it's all about precision. It's not about how much you do or what you can do. It's about how well you can execute it.
Yeah.
So if you know how to truly train and you know how to take that one set to true total failure, believe me, you're not going to need that many sets to be able to get to where you want to be. And at the end of the day, you kind of want to get the most out of the least. You don't want to be having to do fucking 20,000 drop sets and 20,000 sets. That one thing, that there's not really much enjoyment to it. And second, how are you to measure any progression doing that? You don't know what's going to work or not.
Yeah.
All you're doing is really going in and getting a pump. It's not really.
It's impossible.
Don't get me wrong. People do it. That's fine. Like if that's what you want to do, you do it. However, I'm an advocate of doing things that I'm going to get most from. Like that is it. Like end of the day, if there was a way to be able to earn more money in business and be better at it, you'd opt for that option rather than doing more and getting less. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like
so it's the same kind of methodology in business as in training. I think
it brings you to the sort of point.
You need to look at ways that you're going to get more out of your training from maybe doing less and handling less load. So I always say that you need to be able to make your sets harder and stay in your sets a little bit longer rather than trying to get your set over and done with and just get it done. Like, it's not how it works. We're in there to really create a good stimulus in the muscle, and I think to be able to do that, precision is everything.
So, I mean, is there a specific time duration you will take for each set? So, if you say a set, to be maximal should last between like 30 to 45 seconds, or do you not go that far? Because obviously you want to focus on the time under tension, but is there a magic number?
No magic number. I think anything below 30 seconds, really, you're not really training for hypertrophy. I think anything below 30 seconds is not really going to yield that much tension.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
But saying that, if I'm doing a set on hack and it's going to be a set of 10, that set will probably take 45 seconds to a minute, if not more.
Yeah. Especially the Cybex one,
Oh, mate,
it was impressive. We've all been on that Cybex Axwell. We know how hard it is.
I'm the first going it ever as well.
I know.
Yeah.
It's the hardest hack out there, 100%. Fucking killer.
Yeah. I'm surprised that's the first time trying it, man. It's like the renowned hack. You got the Atlantis one in, where is it? Ultraflex, isn't it?
So normally, on the Atlantis, we normally hit around 11, 12 plates on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a shallow hack though, isn't it?
It's more like a leg press.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very vertical. Not vertical, horizontal.
The position you can get in it, it's perfect. It feels great.
Yeah.
So, give or take, I think it's definitely a different movement than it is on the Cybex. I think Cybex is very, very direct.
Yeah.
Very similar to a squat. Like, it feels like a squat. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. The angle is very harsh.
Yeah.
It is very heavy. I would probably want to reverse band it a little bit, though.
For
It
sure.
is pretty heavy in the whole, like, because I did it last, I did it pretty much after what?
That was last.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh my days.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so I did the adductor, leg extension, leg curl, leg press, and then the Cybex hack.
Jesus.
So because I did it last, my leg was already bursting anyway. So
Yeah.
I think if I did it first, I would be probably using a lot more load. So I probably would need to reverse band it just to make sure my knees don't kind of fly off.
Yeah.
It is pretty harsh because of the depth on it. Like, do you have your feet like sort of, if the pad's like here, you have it kind of lower down, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I find I'm stronger in that wider position. Is it probably because more adductors, right?
You can sit more into it, I think, with a wider stance.
It all depends. Your stance should really be the same size as your hips.
Yeah.
Your hips are here. That's your leg stance, and that's going to be a perfect position for. It's going to align you perfectly to be able to squat. But I think any squat movement, you need to aim for a lot of knee flexion. So
yeah,
you need to make sure that your feet are in a position where you come down, that your knees can travel forward a little bit. If your knees aren't traveling forward, you're not really going to get enough of a stretch in your quads. So what's your aim here? Like, at the end of the day, you're aiming to totally trash your quads, and to do that, knee flexion. Whereas I think a lot of people tend to put the feet quite high on a hack squat, and it ends up just getting zero knee flexion. And to get the whole, well, like the knees are almost coming in that way. It's just like, what are you trying to train here? Your hips and your glutes. So,
mad. Right, let's get into some of these questions, Jay.
Oh man, fire away a few questions.
Actually, before we do, I want to ask a question of my own, and I think it was one me and Jamie discussed. We wanted to know, obviously, we're both roughly the same age as you. I'm 24, nearly 25. Jamie, you're what, 23, 24?
23.
So obviously, as gym goers / bodybuilders, it's obviously our dreams to own a gym. Now, you've put yourself in that position of having one of the most successful gyms going with all the best kit, everything. I've been there. I haven't trained there, but I have been there. I came for the JP seminar, and I'm looking around like, this is mad. How have you managed to position yourself in that position to utilize that? And business wise, how's it got to that level?
I actually opened the gym in 2017. It was called Iron Athlete. It wasn't called Ultraflex.
Right.
So that is when the venture first started. And obviously, I opened it with business partners. It didn't quite work out with them, and some of them had to leave the business. And obviously, it came down to just obviously me being with someone else. And at that point, I think it was 2018 summertime. Was it 2018 summertime? 2018 summertime. I was training at Leeds Ultraflex, and I've known Mike for years, and I've seen Charlie I've seen Charlie compete at NABA shows while I was there competing myself. Pretty much seen him most shows. So I knew of them, and I knew who they are, and obviously I've known Mike for quite some time beforehand, anyways. And while I was training in the gym, Mike came over asking me about the gym, how things are going. I was like, "Yeah, look great, man. It's a good building, good size. Like, come down and have a look." And it was like, "Yeah, sound." And then obviously they came down and I was like, "Look, we've got a bit of a proposal for you guys. See if you want to take it." And obviously it was a no-brainer, as joining forces with Ultraflex would mean that I own a smaller percentage of a bigger pie in terms of owning the gym, and it would mean that I can build a dream gym of mine in a year in the space of a year, rather than it taking 10 years to get it to a standard that I'd want it to be in.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how it came about. It's like a lot of people think that obviously it's easy to kind of get some guys on board to do business, but it's like you've got to bring something to the table. Do you know what I mean? Like the gym was already successful beforehand.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, joining Ultraflex just pushed it to
Levels.
You know. So and it's not just that. It's like I've got an opportunity to work with two real businessmen that really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And obviously it gives me a lot of lessons in life on how to be better in many ways and how to be smarter in business. So it's worked out very well for me in many ways, as obviously I've now got a much better, much more successful business, and I'm working with two businessmen that are more than successful and that really know what they're doing. So if I need any help or if I need to learn anything, I'm learning from two of the best. So
wow. So literally you are surrounded by, if I look at what I can see in Kuba's life, he's got the best team round in bodybuilding wise, and now the Ultraflex team taking over there as well. Do you reckon there'll be an Ultraflex down south? Because I think that is needed, to be honest.
There's rumours of Ultraflexes hopefully popping up everywhere, mate.
Oh wow.
Yeah, man. Because I looked at I've only visited Rotherham one, and I was like, they need one of these near me, man. Like,
So we got obviously Muscleworks down by us, which is probably the most similar thing to Ultraflex, right? But our equivalent.
yeah.
But not as good.
You know what? I really like Muscleworks. It's awesome, but
Yeah.
when it comes to the gym and the selection we have, the space we have, and especially now with everything we've done to it recently, I think we've took it to another level. Like, and that's not disrespect, because the gym is amazing, Muscleworks is amazing.
Yeah.
But like we've put the work into to really take things to the next level now, and we really have. So like it's another level. Like there's in terms of across the board with Ultraflexes, there's nothing like it in UK with the gym.
Yeah. I think the thing is down south, I think it's a lot harder to get the square footage to make it that kind of size, that kind of scale. There's just not the space for it.
Well, you got Kings and Muscleworks. They're pretty hefty.
Yeah, but they're not. They're down south, but then they're like outside of London. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's hard to get that size, and even Muscleworks is probably nowhere near the size of Ultraflex.
Ultraflex Rotherham was quite a similar size to Muscleworks, no? Is Rotherham bigger? Wow.
And that's probably that's our biggest gym.
We've got 14,000 square foot plus the mezzanine floor.
Yeah, fair play. Mad. We're gonna have to take a trip there, Jamie. When
I think total it's about 20,000 square foot.
Jesus. Yeah, I think once this lockdown's over, Jamie, I think a road trip is in need.
Yeah, definitely.
Down there.
Definitely.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sort of, it's important to work with good business partners, because I know a lot of gyms down here, and the gyms are owned by bodybuilders, but they don't look at their gym from a business perspective. They look at it from that's their toy, that's their playground, and that's all they care about. And then it doesn't make money as a result of that, because they've handpicked all the parts for themselves.
I know.
You know what I mean? But there's so many. I could name like 3 examples. I'm not going to name them, but there's so many down here that I like that, and it's just like fucking hell. This is literally just his gym, like, and they've got members. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I think it's a mixture of both. You know, I think you've got to do it for the people as well, and it's got to tick every single box. So when I look at equipment selection, it's like I pick what I know is going to be the best, and I know what's going to work.
Yeah.
So especially now, like I probably will have an opportunity to do another gym, and when I do it next, I'm not going to make the same mistakes I have done with this one.
Yeah.
So in terms of exercise, in terms of equipment selection, it's going to be another level again.
And you get, I mean, it's normally you walk into a gym and you see hammer strength, you see Cybex, but you guys are like a lot of Atlantis and Prime stuff, right? There's a lot of that in your gym.
To be honest, mate, I picked out the best from each brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important because there's a lot of gyms, especially again down here, especially in Essex, bigger gyms, that literally nothing's handpicked. They just strike a deal probably with Hammer Strength or like Watson or something like that, and just fill the whole gym out with Watson equipment. And there are some bits of like there are some golden bits from each brand, but some bits that are just absolute shit.
Yeah.
And like there's a few gyms down here. Literally, they'll just kit the whole thing out of Watson or Hammer Strength, and obviously they're like the industry standard. But some bits are fucking dreadful to use, like the Watson. I think it's the hack squat. It's the worst thing I've ever used. No, not the hack squat.
The pendulum.
The worst thing I've ever used in my life. It hurts so much.
It's gas. When you get strong on the Watson, you know you're good at pendulum, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but listen, you can't because problem Watson is the whole load is placed on your knees. So what you want, ideally with a pendulum, is you want the load to get slightly lighter as you get in the hole, and then as you're coming up, that's when you want the load heavier.
Yeah.
Whereas with Watson, somehow they've managed to get it wrong so much that it's light at the top, and as you get down, the whole pressure and tension is just on your knees.
Yeah.
So it's like if you want a knee injury, you use a Watson pendulum. Yeah,
that's
definitely.
That's what I feel like.
If you've got a knee surgery, that's what you do.
Yeah. So no Watson Kuba.
Single leg Watson pendulum. Keep on that in.
So, in your opinion, who's the leading gym equipment brand? Who you got? Because there's a big vibe around Panatta right now. You know,
I've used some Panatta, mate, and if I rated it, I would have got it in the gym.
Yeah.
Problem with Panatta is some of it's great, yes, but the great pieces need 6-7 plates for it to feel heavy.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So it's decent. Don't get me wrong, but if I was to pick three actual brands, it would be Prime, Atlantis, and Hammer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'd pick the best from each one. And that would really tick it. Prime, Atlantis, Hammer, and Cybex. Sorry if I was to pick 4. Yeah. But again, even with Cybex is amazing, but again, some bits are dreadful. So it's like, they're all amazing, the brands. However, they're good for what's good. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to pick. You can't just choose one.
The Prime leg extension's just another level.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Have you used the Bicep curl machine as well? They've got new handles that turn. They're absolutely, like, it's mad. It's such a nice machine. And you can load up the plates. It's got 3 different zones, like 1, 2, and 3, and it varies the tension on where you want it to be on the bicep. It's absolutely unreal. Such a nice machine.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Right, Kuba, let's get some questions going. So we're going to start off basic, and then we'll move into the a bit more controversial subject. I like the sound of this question. It's a very basic question, but it does. I think we've all had our moments, especially when we're pushing weight, when we go, oh no, our waist is going to explode. What's going on? And yourself, I think your recent upload when you hit the Instagram, I was thinking, his body weight. What's your body weight now?
I'm down to 246 this morning.
Yeah, I mean,
how tall are you? 5'8".
Yeah.
Okay.
And your waist is still tight, man. Mega tight. So the question is how to keep a tight waist during a bulk. My waist explodes during a bulk, he says.
So don't overeat and eat foods that you can digest easily.
Yeah.
Simple as that, really. Don't overeat and make sure that you're eating foods that you can digest well. If you're eating foods that you like but that don't really agree with you, you're pissing in the wind. It needs to always be foods like Jamie knows how we do it. We do it always based on the foods that you can eat and kind of digest well. Yeah. And if somebody doesn't digest well or you're getting issues, we knock it out straight away.
To be honest with you, I think, especially at my stage though, no matter what, the waist is going to get bigger. Like it is, you're going to have to feel uncomfortable walking about feeling full and your belly popping. Like it just is part of it, I think.
Yeah, but there's a difference between like your belly popping and your waist exploding. Like he said, his waist was exploding.
But I think that's probably what he means, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you look at people, I mean, if you think on the pro stage, massive guys who have pushed their body weights up to crazy weights. And look at them on like Olympia stages and their waists are just tiny, man.
Yeah.
So it can't, God, here he comes.
Right. I finished eating now. Right. So, when you are growing, you're putting muscle on, it's impossible for your waist not to grow. Like, what do you get stability from? In any movement you do, even when you're walking around, what do you get stability from?
Cool.
Yeah. So to stabilize a body that weighs an extra 50 fucking pounds, you are going to need more muscle around your core to be able to hold yourself up.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. You cannot change the structure of your hips. Like, obviously, your hips and your structure determine how small your waist is. However, your waistline as the actual midsection inevitably will grow as you put muscle on.
Yeah.
And again, you can control that to an extent. Obviously, doing vacuums, that does help a lot. And obviously, actually training your core does help a lot.
Yeah.
However, you cannot stop that. And unfortunately, the guys that always post pictures saying, "Oh, look at how small my waist is," yeah, but like everything else is also small. So it's like you can't really preach about your small waist when you've got a 17-inch arm. So it's one of them things. It's like people slate JP for having a larger waist, but it's like, mate, you try and put at the moment it's 270 pounds, right? And you can see pretty much lines in his arse. Yeah. So you try and grow that much muscle, and your waist still stay tight. It's impossible.
Not going to happen.
So, and even when you look at top pros, when they hold the waist in, it's small. But then you see some shots when they're not holding the waist in, and it's like small. This tension is there. Do you know what I mean? It's inevitable. It's inevitable. Don't get me wrong. There's things that you can do to kind of combat it. However, it's inevitable that it will grow. In terms of him saying that his waist is exploding, if your waist is exploding, you're probably just overeating and you're probably eating foods that are bloating you. So I would probably look at maybe actually looking at what you're eating and how much you're eating, and do you need to be eating that much food?
And the darker side of the question is obviously the anabolic side of it. So the growth hormone, the insulin. Is this gonna? What's your opinion on this? Because I've heard one thing, I've heard another thing. I want to know what Kuba thinks of this.
If you are an idiot, then it will probably impact it a little bit. However, it's food that makes your gut grow, not grow for insulin. If it was growth for insulin, then you'd have Milos Sarcev would have the biggest gut in the world. When we all know Milos absolutely loves really high doses of insulin and growth, and I know a lot of his clients do, and they've all got tight midsections. So it's not necessarily drugs. I think it's a combination of pushing your food to a level where it will really make everything just blow. Like if you really stretch your gut out so much, it'll probably take years to come back in. So if you're pushing food and drugs, yes, you can blow your waist.
Yeah.
However, it's not just down to taking insulin growth. If anything, if you use insulin properly, it'll probably keep your midsection somewhat tight. I would argue with that fact as well.
Do you think that's why it's important not to push food for too long of a period of time? Because obviously you're pushing the natural gut line out.
And I've been guilty of it myself. Just probably staying on like 7,000 calories for about 5-6 months.
Right, and that's just too much, right?
Yeah, mate, it's not that. It was like I probably needed to scale back around 2 months before I actually did. Right. So, and again, this is my mistake that I've made that I can apply with other people now and make sure that I don't make the same mistake with other people. Yeah. Like, as soon as I'm getting a bit of feedback of you needing to scale back on food, I am going to make a decision. So you've got to look at it. I think people do stay in a surplus a little bit too long.
Right.
I think it's got to be, when you've got to look at your off season, it's got to be almost like a little roller coaster. Like a roller coaster going up, but going up like this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't just push for a year straight.
Yeah, and the thing is that the main thing you've got to look at is your performance, your pump, your recovery. If you're going in the gym and you're not really getting much of a pump on, and you're just moving the weight, but nothing's happening, you know you've probably pushed it a little bit too far and need to get a little bit leaner and get sensitive again and get hungry again. And again, another thing is, like, don't get me wrong, you will get to points where you do need to force feed, and you not so much force feed, but you will get uncomfortable eating, yeah? But that period should never really last for too long.
Yeah.
It should really last enough for you to be like, I've had enough, let's go.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been guilty in past of just looking past it and thinking, fuck this, you're just being a pussy. So just keep eating. Whereas it's not right. At the end of the day, you need to be you need to progress consistently all the way through. You cannot stand still. And progression is obviously measured in many ways. Like, just because you're dropping weight doesn't mean you're not progressing. Like, the biggest thing was as well, when I started this prep right now, it's like, as soon as I dropped my food, I was getting stronger.
Right.
My recovery was getting better. And like, I'm what am I, 8 weeks into prep now, and I'm still getting stronger. And I'm 18 pounds, not 18 pounds down. What am I down? 17 pounds down.
Yeah.
So
sometimes it can just make you more athletic. So obviously, if you're slightly lighter, you're not going to gas out as much. So you can push those extra reps out. That's what I found towards the end of our push. I was getting to the point where I was hitting 10 reps and I'd literally be fucked. It'd take me 10 minutes to get my breath back. Like,
definitely.
But
I must say though, like, I've seen Jamie with a couple different coaches now, but he's looking. He looks like the best I've looked. Well, best he's looked ever now, man. That side chest pose that you uploaded the other day, Jay, was sick, man. So,
thank you.
The thing is, though, you have to get to that point, though. You have to get uncomfortable in every meaning of the word. Like, you have to, but you cannot. That doesn't mean you stay there for very long.
Yeah.
Like, you get there, you kind of hold it. You make that weight yours, you make that kind of shape yours, and then you're like, right, I need to scale that back now. Because right now, to be able to push past that point, we need to come back down and then past that point again.
Next time,
So, and that's just how it works. It's the most effective way of running things, to be honest.
I think mindset-wise as well, if you've got the same goal for too long a period of time, it just gets fucking boring. I think it's important to scale back, diet down, changes the goal, changes the mindset, freshens things up.
It's progression. You're progressing. End of the day, when you stay in that circles for very long, you're not seeing that many changes. And don't get me wrong, like, some people can just slog it out, but end of the day, you still need to kind of have that bit of enjoyment in there. You still need to feel good in a way. You can't just go through the whole off season feeling like pure shit.
Yeah. That's definitely the point it got for me.
But then again, I think in same breath, I think people use that as an excuse just to diet, just to stay lean. And there is that other hand of it where people are like, well, no, that's it, too much. When really they've probably got another 2-3 months left of actual growing and pushing. Do you know what I mean?
That's the case a lot of the time, especially with girls. Like, they're not ready to push up because they want to stay lean.
Yeah, with girls, it's the worst thing, to be honest. With girls, it's the worst thing. I'm working with some amazing athletes right now. Yeah. But obviously, they haven't really executed the off seasons as they should have done, and they're in a world of trouble, to be honest. And it's going to take time to get things right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that in that sense. But I think obviously everyone's got a sort of image to live up to, and on Instagram everyone expects everyone to walk around looking like how they do on stage the majority of the time. So I think they almost feel embarrassed. This is everyone when they don't look like that 95% of the time.
You've actually made a really good point. I think too many girls get so emotionally attached to looking a certain way that they almost don't want to let go of the stage condition, and that leads them to really like having a tiny off season and then trying to diet down, and like they're almost like yo-yoing, and they're not really allowing themselves enough time to build up any sensible calories, and then they end up just binging because they can't handle dieting back down again. So it's like they're almost having a battle with themselves to try and maintain condition that's just unrealistic, and then that leads them to slipping out of shape more than anything. So I think it's a hard one, it's a hard one. I think Instagram doesn't help.
No,
they're looking at pictures of girls that I know for a fact they've got like a library that the post of pictures that they was just in shape, and what people don't realise is like you're watching all the pictures, but they don't actually look like that right now. They make out they do, but they don't.
Mate, it's the Photoshop as well, man. People,
Yeah, oh mate, it's so bad. Look, men and women do it. It's so bad. It's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. But I'm very fortunate enough to have some decent girls on that really listen, and I'm glad that they're actually enjoying to learn how to embrace the off season and maybe focus more on other goals rather than looking thin and good. Good in their mind, because in most of the girls' minds, feeling looking good is like being thin.
Yeah.
So, whereas when you're telling them, like, look, you still look great, like which to do, I think it's just getting them out of that habit and maybe getting them to more fall in love with the training side, and maybe setting them some challenges in off season, like, look, this is kind of what I want you to be doing, or maybe like setting a target strength-wise. I think that keeps them going a lot more now as well.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable chasing goals. So,
definitely. So essentially learning to chase performance rather than the aesthetic, especially in off-season.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah,
definitely.
And do you find, I mean, I guess this is very like person dependent, but there's coaches that obviously coach more females and there's coaches that coach more males. Do you feel like, I've always been under the impression certain people coach certain, males and females because maybe that females are potentially easier to coach, because obviously being a guy, we've come back and we're asked questions. Do you feel like it's as easy to coach both of them?
I think it depends on the person, mate. I think if anyone is decent in this, they will ask questions. And if you're not prepared to answer the questions, then you shouldn't really be doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, like, whenever I get asked a question, I'm kind of glad they're asking me a question because it shows that they're interested.
Yeah.
Like, if I was just to send someone a plan and they wasn't asking me any questions, I think that would lead me to think they're not really that invested in me.
Yeah.
Whereas I know I'm invested in them. Like, so if I'm invested in someone, I'm expecting the same kind of investment back. So I'm expecting a little bit back. So I think it's not really men or women. I think it just really depends on the kind of person they are. And if they don't ask me questions, they're not really someone that I want to work with. Yeah. Like Jamie knows himself. Like now, I probably turn away more people than I actually work with now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I need to be working with people that are on the same kind of, that have the same kind of mindset as I have.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there's enough people out there. There's enough people out there that are in it for the right reasons, and that's kind of athletes that I want. I want to work with athletes that are gonna question me and that are gonna challenge me, not just be like, yeah, I'll do this, that's fine,
yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean?
I think this is what I've done in the past and sort of got shit for questioning methods rather than getting it explained to me. It's just sort of been like shut down, like almost to the sense it's like you're not a coach. So, I mean, obviously I'm trying to be now, but rather than it being explained to me in a sort of calm, collective manner, it's been quite a brutal.
Yeah, I've had situations as well where, like, I've wanted to ask someone a question, and it's almost like it's been like, I can't remember what the question was. It was a long, long time ago in one of my preps, and it was like, oh, but you're not the coach. Just do what I say, and I understand that, but like, I just wanted to answer the fucking question. Do you know what I mean?
By the end of the day, we're trying to learn because we also want to do what you do.
Yeah.
So. Essentially,
there's nothing wrong with that. End of the day, that's it. End of the day, if I'm trying to provide a service, like I need to be prepared for that. Like you should never feel like you can't ask me anything. Do you know what I mean? Like regardless of what it is, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, I think that's just where, like, potentially, I know not a bad experience, but it's been like, okay, I've asked coach something like this. Coach has said kind of down talked me a little bit, thinking, oh no, I'm not allowed to ask questions now because of their response. And I think Jamie's had the same reply, but obviously a coach, to me, you're meant to ask them questions and they meant to reply to them,
Yeah.
But
and it's part of the job. That's what you're paying the coach for.
Challenge your coach, mate. If you can't challenge your coach, then What are you paying him for? At the end of the day, it's part of the service.
Yeah.
Like, coaching is coaching. It's not just telling someone what to do.
Yeah.
Like, it works both ways, doesn't it, I think?
Yeah. It's nice to know you think like that. I mean, I never would have thought you thought differently than that. But from my experience, there's a lot of coaches that do, you know, they send the plan, expect you to follow it. And then when you ask questions, it's a bit like,
I think a lot of coaches are very used to just working with yes men, that they'll literally just tick the boxes no matter what. They'll be prepared to feel like the absolute dog shit.
Do you know what? That's fine.
They don't know any better.
Yeah, that's fine though, you know. But like, I don't really want to work with people that are, like, I want to work with athletes that are invested in this. Like, this is what I want to work with. I don't really want to work with people that will just be like, yes, and follow something silly, because I've seen people follow some silly shit, and it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Mad. Okay, here's one for Kuba. Favorite training split and why? Have you tried other splits, e.g., PPL versus one body part per week, etc.?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, and I've tried pretty much every single split you can think of, and it doesn't really matter what you do. It's how well you can do it. You will grow off anything, but again, like I mentioned before, one split will probably yield a lot more results than the other.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not going to work. They will all work if you can apply yourself, and if you can apply yourself effectively, they will all work. But for me, it's always been push-pull leg variation. And again, I've tried pretty much every single variation on the sun. And because I don't really need to train arms that much, for me, it's push-pull off, legs off. However, if I was working with someone who needs to desperately bring the arms up, I would probably add a little bit of arm work in, maybe on leg days, or add in an additional arm day. It just all depends on the recovery and what they can handle in the situation at the given time. But it just all depends. I think a lot of people are caught up in maybe not trying to grow enough and thinking, I just need this body part to be bigger. Whereas realistically, everything needs to be bigger. Like, once you reach a certain size, that's when you can start redefining things a little bit more.
Yeah.
However, like, 99% of people are very, 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 very much away from where they need to be able to start really fine-tuning things, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I've been in the gym a couple of times and we've all heard it. Oh, but Ronnie Coleman used to do this and this and this.
Yeah, do you know what? That makes me laugh. Like, people always say, oh, yeah, but, like, do you know when you look at people that are doing the Olympia? Like,
yeah.
Like, they don't do push-pull leg split. I'm like, yes, mate, because they literally walk in the gym, they do fucking 3 sets of, like, EZ barber curls, and they've got 25-inch arms, mate. Like, you can't do that. This is why you need to train, like, with a bit of a brain. If you want to look the same for the rest of your life, like, you go ahead and do that. It's no skin off my nose. Yeah. But again, these people that always say that, they are the people that don't really know how to apply themselves. Like, you'll always get people that don't really want to learn or progress, that will always say, like, use excuses that are like, yeah, but, like, okay, but, like, I always say, like, but, like, why do you look the same as you did 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I'll just continue coming up. I'll just continue getting bigger and bigger every year, and I'll just stick to what I'm doing.
I just think the majority of these athletes as well that are massive and do train that way, where they can sort of afford to fuck about, they are fucking strong as well, and they definitely trained for strength during a point in their life.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt about that, because you have to build muscle, you have to do those sets.
I wouldn't say really train for strength directly, but getting bigger, like, if you get bigger, you will get stronger. Like, strength and size comes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like, performance and size comes hand in hand. I always say that. So, like, if you can add an extra 10 kilo to your bench and still do it with the same execution, perfect execution you had done before, that extra 10 kilo will add a little bit of muscle to your chest, shoulders, and tricep.
Yeah.
Interesting. It just does my head in when, you know, and I guess, like, there's a couple different types of people right now. You got the people who are more old school, and they're the older generation. They're like, oh no, one muscle group a day, you're fine. Just beat it up. Don't care about frequency, blah, blah, blah. And then you got the other type of person who's banned in everything. And it's like, so like reading every single thing on the planet. I got to use 20 bands on like the left.
Oh mate, you know what winds me up? When you're in the gym and people are just like, for example, doing like an easy curl and they're just adding like fucking B handles. It's like, why are you adding B handles to that, bro? There's just no need.
Or in that position, like, as long as you're not doing straight bar curls, I don't care what you do. You know what? It's funny you mention that because Joe Bennett actually did a great post on that. I think you get one end of the spectrum that people that work really fucking hard, but again, don't know how to apply that work ethic to actually be to be successful in what they are doing. And then you've got the other end of the spectrum, people that really overthink things that much that they just put absolutely no effort into the training.
Yeah.
So you need to find like I mentioned earlier, you need to be like a man on the ledge where like you're walking through this line and like that bit that way, wrong. That bit that way, wrong. You need to be in that little spot, that little sweet spot that just has you right, where you're working hard enough, but you're working smart enough as well.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy some of these isolation movements where we're adding cuffs, etc. I feel like you hit it so much more, but there's no good. A lot of people are doing shit like that when they're not hitting the basic compound movements. They're literally just going in, hitting machines, and then flies with cuffs and B handles and then just fucking off. And that's why they're not growing.
Oh, bro, I know who you're talking about, man.
Wait, there's many people that do that. But it's true that there's so many accessories that people do, and it's just like, but you haven't mastered the basic movements. You're not sitting there squatting, barbell squatting, getting into the hole, time under tension. Like you're just not doing it. All you're doing is using a hack squat and a leg extension. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think some people want to almost run before they can walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, I mean, now what's your split now then, Kuba?
Push, pull, off, legs off. Yeah. And I've pretty much, like, I've done, I've got quite a few people on push, pull, off, arms, legs off, just because their arms are absolutely terrible. Like, if someone has terrible arms, I will add them an arm day in.
Yeah.
But they have to have terrible arms. Like, if you haven't got terrible arms, I want to put you on a split that's going to favour, like, growing everything. And out of all the splits that I've tried, this split has been the most. It's brought the most results by far. The frequency is perfect. Obviously the rest in between and the volume is good. So I think, I've pretty much ran every variation of push pull leg, and this has always been the one that I've come back to.
Yeah. So you favourite more rest through the week then, obviously, to recover. Yeah.
Yeah. So it works out that I'm training 1 week 5 days, other week 4 days.
Yeah.
I think when you are trying to get strong, I think that split works very well. Very well.
So when I was on prep during a period of time, I was hitting sessions 6 days a week.
Yeah.
But I just felt, compared to now, I literally only hit 80% of my capacity because it was just too much, way too much.
You was probably going into sessions like already smashed.
Yeah.
If you're not going into sessions smashed, like you probably wasted the session. Because what you've got to look at is like the reps that really matter, that really count for obviously any progress to be made. They're the hard reps. If you can't hit them hard reps that are like probably touching failure or going into failure, if you can't hit them reps, then what are you doing? You're just going through motions. It's not going to bring any results. You're just going to go in the gym, get a nice pump and leave, and probably get a little bit more fatigue. So again, you're going to be more tired. You're going to lose less body fat, and you're going to feel worse.
Yeah, it's literally just a calorie burn and a pump.
Yeah, more like muscle burn.
Yeah. Right.
Interesting one. I was watching the what podcast was it? It was the Bash Bros podcast the other day, and the question was Big Pal Nasty versus Kuba.
Big Pal Nasty.
I'd like to see it. I'd love to see it.
I don't know, man. Probably if Dan had a bit more legs. I think if it was 2 years ago, Dan would have beat me.
Yeah.
100% he'd have beat me for 2 years ago. This year, I don't really think so now.
Oh, here we go. I want to see that.
This year, probably not. 2 years ago, 100%, it would have smoked me. But I think this year, then nah.
No. I love it. That's mental. I mean, what, you're 25 now? So ideally, you're got the whole world in front of you in your competitive life. I mean, obviously the goal is Olympia for you, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that 212 open? Like, what's the plan?
Well, last time I competed, I was 218 pounds. So I wouldn't really get into 212, to be honest. I won't really want to. I'm at that height where I'd be a thin 212.
Okay.
So I won't want to suck into that. Plus, this time I'm probably going to be on stage around 230, just over 230 pounds.
That's mental, man.
So I'll definitely be around 12 to 15 pounds up from last time. So I don't think, I think I want to get to Olympia by the time I'm 30. So 5-year plan.
Go.
Yeah, easy. That's going to happen. But it's nice because obviously that front double bicep you put up on Instagram the other day, like the proportions are almost, I mean, if you look at some of the bigger guys, you've got the mass with class kind of look, you know? It's like, you look at some of the open guys and your waist is still tight, you got the V-taper, your biceps are like touching the sky, you know, you've got the nice shapes, the nice proportions and that, which is cool. But, you know, when you were younger, did you think, I mean, I don't know if the classic class was there, but did you ever think to yourself, maybe I want to stay downsized and go to classic? Or
there's a photo of you which I think looks quite classic. You're in like a red changing room.
Yeah.
And it looks like a very classic look when like your waist looks tiny.
That was 2017 prep. 2018 prep, yeah. And that was actually my old changing rooms in the Old Iron Athlete.
Oh right, yeah.
The lighting was sick in there, but yeah. No. End of the day, we all want to be bodybuilders. Like classic bodybuilding, I leave that to people with tiny joints that have got truly classic physiques. Like I can look classic in certain poses, but that doesn't make me a classic bodybuilder. I'm not a classic bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Like just because I can make myself look classic with a pose doesn't mean I'm classic. Like even I've got a small waist, but for me to be classic, my waist would probably need to be a lot smaller. My joints would probably need to be a little smaller. So I think there's no point competing against the guys that are so blessed with a certain structure.
Yeah.
It would just makes no sense to me trying to compete with that, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to compete with what these guys have been born with and what I've been born with.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? In the open class, it's more like who's got the bigger minerals to kind of grow better and better. Do you know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. Whereas in classic, mate, it's more of this kid's got like a waist like a wasp and fucking 22.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things, like when you look at people like that, Steve Lazarus or something, I think.
Metal.
Yeah, his waist is like 26 inch and his arms are like 23 inch or something.
Go shopping fucking Top Man with the 26-inch waist.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like
that Arnold Classic showing was mental.
How are you meant to compete with that? It's a joke.
You can't.
You know what I mean? You can't. No chance. So
Do you think the same applies with like the female categories? So figure wellness.
Yeah, do you know what? This makes me laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Like, again, you are born into the way you are going to look. So certain girls, like, they'll look like bikini girls already, and like you put a little bit more muscle on them, they'll still look like a bikini girl. Yeah. Because that's the way they're going to grow. It's same with wellness. Like with wellness, mate, if you're not born with a huge arse, wide hips, and big legs, like you're going to compete against girls that have been born naturally with that.
Yeah.
So it's like you cannot be that when you're not born that way.
Do you think you can grow into it though?
What, into a class?
Yeah, so like, do you reckon a bikini girl could grow into like a wellness class or a wellness athlete obviously going into figure.
If she had a predisposition to have a huge lower half and huge arse, and again wide hips, then maybe. But if she already had predisposition to do that, she would already know. Yeah. So she wouldn't even be competing in the bikini. She'd probably already be wellness, if it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know very, very quick which category you will fall in when you start training. Yeah. And I think the biggest mistake a lot of women make is trying to fit a category that they don't necessarily suit.
Right.
And what happens then is like they just end up losing because they're competing against girls that have got the shape for that category. Yeah. Whereas you're not going to beat your structure. You cannot out-train your structure. No. So I think that's the biggest issue.
There are some girls that literally don't even train and just naturally have like massive muscular legs. And it's just like, where the fuck has that come from?
Yeah, and they're the girls that would literally train for a year and then probably win the wellness. Do you know what I mean? Like,
like there are literally some girls that I know that don't train. They just do like horse riding and shit and just running, and the legs are just fucking ridiculous. It's just like, where has that come from? You haven't squat. How have you built that muscle?
Yeah, but legs was popping already before they even start training.
You need to introduce me to those girls, mate.
You can train them, You can train them.
Oh god, big black hole just opened up there.
So, wanted to ask a question. Just obviously, I know this, but generally, what is your approach to a prep? We've asked everyone so far how they coach for a prep, whether you like off-plan meals, whether you like structured refeeds.
Yeah.
How long a prep would be?
Yeah, as you know, in off-season, like I give people a lot more freedom and choices to what they eat. Yeah. So I try and maybe teach them how they can eat without creating too much damage to the progress. So it's all about damage limitation and portion control, as you know yourself. So in off-season, try and preach that, just to allow a lot more freedom, especially socially. So you can have a bit of a social life and a bit of a normal life. Yeah. But in prep, mate, it's more refeeds and more controlled. Everything's controlled and measured. So if I'm going to give you food, you know it's going to be. It's not just going to be go and eat. Like, what does that mean? Like, if I told someone to go and eat, they could eat either 10,000 calories or 1,000 calories. Yeah. Like, you're not going to know like what's working or what's not working if you're not measuring what they're eating. Yeah. So the approach for a prep is always refeed rather than off-plan meals. I think the way we run an off season, you're mentally going to be ready to do that. And the way you've got to look at it, when you're eating off-plan meals during a prep, you fixate on that food all the way through. Like, you don't even think, like, you get to a point where you don't even think about prep anymore. All you're thinking about is that next meal. And I think, if anything, that will create a worse relationship with food, because you're not really focusing on what's important. You're focusing on like eating that next meal. And I think the longer you go without actually eating any crap, like you don't even miss it. You don't even think about it. Yeah. So, do you know what? I've done it many ways before, and I've done it 100 ways, different people with different people. I've done it 100 different ways with different people, and the best, in my opinion, is always refeeds. Yeah. That way, people don't even binge after, because they literally go after the shows, they have a meal, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like, they're not. And the way we're gonna look at it is like, if you keep getting little bits every week during a prep, and then like you're starving and all you're thinking about is that meal all week, what do you think is going to happen after a prep?
It's like feeling a crack addiction.
You just go mental. Whereas if you're never put in that position through a course of a 20-week prep, for example, which generally I always run between 20 to 24 weeks, depending on the body composition when we start. If you're not exposed to feeling that way all that time, you're not going to feel that way after. Yeah. So you're not gonna have the urge to kind of go off rails, because you're gonna be happy just eating that food. Yeah. And there's little things we implement as well post show straight away that kind of combat having the need to kind of go off plan much. just in terms of obviously the foods that kind of added to the diet is a little bit more flexible in terms of we add in the things that you kind of miss the most. And the way you've got to look at it is if you're eating the things that you've wanted to eat every single day, you're not really going to be inclined to really wanting to overeat. When realistically, that's what it comes down to. It's just overeating, not actually what you're eating, but mainly overeating.
It's a weird thing because when I finished my prep last year, 2 years ago, I've come off stage and started eating, obviously, nothing mental, had a Wagamama's. And the next day, I was finding that I was eating things just to eat them. I was just like, give it away.
Yeah, what you do, mate, you start eating for the sake of eating. You don't really eat because you want to eat. And I always try and preach that to people when they have off-plan meals. I'm like, eat until you're full and don't have any more, because after you're full, like what you get, you're not getting no enjoyment from it no more. Yeah. So like, why are you eating? You're only eating for the sake of eating. So never ever eat for the sake of it. Just eat until you're full and just leave it. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be eating that meal again in a couple of days' time. Like, it's not going anywhere. And I think it's that mentality of people like eating and then thinking, right, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to eat that now for a week or 2 weeks. Like, that's what really messes with the head. And I think that's what really creates that really bad relationship with food, to be honest.
I think obviously you could argue that having off meals during a prep can benefit like relationships and stuff like that. But then also on the other hand, I think that you should be prepared that on a prep you probably will struggle with relationships a little bit.
To be honest, mate, I think your relationship, if you're a bodybuilder and you're starting prep, your relationship needs to be
tight.
Yeah. No, I mean, not just relationships with like your partner. I mean, like pals and stuff in general.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, generally it helps like to maybe go out for that one meal a week. So that would help. So I guess that's probably the only pro.
It is, yes, but like your pals should understand, and like if they really understand, they'd be fine with you bringing your own food in. And start with the social time. Like, you don't need to eat for the social time. You can just turn up with your own food. Like, I do it, mate. I do it in off season and I'm in prep.
Yeah.
Like,
same.
just because your pals have a social occasion, like, if they truly care about you and care about what you want, they're not going to say a silly little thing about you bringing your own food to social occasions. And if they do say anything about it, they don't truly care about what's important to you.
Yeah, amen. Preach. I've had that situation where you go to barbecues and everyone at the barbecue knows what you do. Yeah. You turn up with your Tupperware and they're like, why have you bought a Tupperware? Well, because I eat on a diet, but you've got, there's barbecue here. Yeah? Oh, but no, but, you know, I've got to follow my diet plan. And they're like looking at you like you're some fucking alien. And I think like, it's just mental.
A lot of the time, though, the comments come from a lack of understanding rather than...
Educate your friends and family, man. Like,
exactly.
I had to do that from a very, very early age, as you know. And obviously, the more your friends know about it, and if, like I said, if they're truly your friend, they will respect it and they will support you. Yeah. And if you don't support your mate, they're not worthy of being in your circle, to be honest. Yeah. And the way you've got to look at it, you are going from a competition prep to compete in a competition. Like, you know you are going to suffer a little bit. Like somewhere down the line, you know you will. So why would you do anything to jeopardize all that time, knowing that doing that would probably make you that 5% worse?
Yeah, fuck that.
Like, that 5% could mean third or first place.
Yeah.
So if you are going to do it, you need to go balls deep into it.
Yeah.
You need to go balls deep into it.
Definitely.
Don't get me wrong. If I know someone's struggling mentally and they're on verge of a breakdown, like, I would probably be like, look, go and have a meal. Like, go and have a meal. But it just all depends. Like, this is where communication is very important.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be honest with me and yourself. Like, you need to be honest with yourself first and foremost, so you're not lying to me. So if you're honest with me, I can help you. But that's the case of you being honest.
So, serious question, Kuba.
Yeah.
So obviously you prep a lot of athletes. Some make it, some don't make it. Have you ever been in a situation where you've had to say to he or she, listen, I don't want you to continue doing this because you're literally going to wreck your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a few times, actually.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't want to listen, mate. So I was like, well, I'm not going to put my hand to this.
Yeah.
So, but right now, I won't really work with someone just for prep. I won't really be like, yeah, I'll prep you. Yeah, you're going to win. No, like, ideally, I need someone for an off season, because if I know I can work with someone for extended time and work through off season, I know they're probably not going to run into the same issues during prep.
Yeah.
Because everything we do in the off season, I'm almost like prepping them for the prep, if it makes sense.
Oh, that's
so, yeah.
Must be hard for people to hear that though, because obviously they can't see the damage that is being caused, like in their heads and that, and they want to keep pushing it.
They know deep down. They know. Yeah, they know.
I think
the people that I've said this to before, and they didn't want to listen, came back to me like 3 weeks later, and I was like, mate, you was right. quite a few of them, actually.
Yeah.
So,
because I remember there was a Train by JP video, and Jordan was explaining, because obviously I'm members of the site. I think, Jamie, are you? Probably not. Oh, you are?
I am, bro, of course.
There was a JP video quite a long time ago, and he was sitting down and he was talking how prep can literally be the worst thing in your life, you know, if you are to do it. So,
but if it is the worst thing in your life, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Like, if you cannot embrace it, and if you cannot, like,
channel it,
can't enjoy the hardship of it, if you can't enjoy the process, if you don't like it, you shouldn't be doing it, because you're doing it for wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like, why are you going for a prep if you do not like it? Why? Are you just doing it to be able to stand on stage?
Yeah.
Because if so, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Probably not. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, everyone gets moments when they wake up and they're like, fuck me, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
But in same breath, there should be far more days where you're like, yeah, I fucking love this shit.
Yeah.
If the negative outweighs the positive, then you shouldn't be doing it, to be honest.
Yeah.
That kind of brings me on to my...
But again, this comes down to, there's different ways to skin a cat, isn't there? I think some ways are definitely more enjoyable than the others. And some ways will definitely be a lot easier on your mind than others as well, I think.
Yeah. Right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about female cycles. Come on then. Anabolic.
I want to know, man.
Anabolics for girls.
Yeah, I think definitely overused a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I've had a few of my clients, I'm not going to mention names because I would never disrespect them that way, but I've had a few girls basically come and say, oh, my previous coach basically telling me to run this Anavar, and just because it's Anavar, it's not going to have any implications, so you just keep running it. Mate, she was on Anavar for about 6 months, mate, running like 25 milligrams.
What?
Yeah, but do you know what? Like, she's totally off. And do you know that there's actually, I think, 3 girls that was running for quite a long time with no breaks and running a dose that I wouldn't even have figure girls running.
Wow.
So it all depends. I think you should always start with the least, and obviously see how that works. And if it's real Anavar, trust me, like 5 milligrams a day, I'm going to have amazing results. So I think it's definitely overused these days. And like, I know a lot of bikini girls that use like compounds like Pregabalin. And I think in bikini, there's no place for anything more than maybe a tiny bit of Anavar. And that's only if you're competing at a very high level. Yeah. So, and I know for a fact, like there's quite a few professional girls in the pro league running primo. Like, I almost don't want to believe it in a way, but like recently, I've heard from a few coaches of quite a few ladies running the compounds. So, and they're the compounds that generally like women's physique run, not bikini. So it all depends, you know. Like I said, people have got different methods, different ways of doing things, and I think it varies a lot country to country as well. Like I know, like Poland, there's quite a heavier use amongst ladies.
Okay.
And I know in America especially, there is a lot of heavier use amongst ladies across all classes.
Wow.
So,
What do you think of the use of Clen T3 with women?
Clen, yes. T3 only if needed. I try not to at all.
Right, okay.
I think people use it too willingly, to be honest. I think they overuse it more than anything.
Right.
So I think if you can get away without using it, yes, go without. If you absolutely need to, then maybe do use it a tiny little bit. However, it just all depends. It's very individual, and I think if your off season has gone well, I don't really think T3 is essential.
Okay.
But again, it all depends. Like for bikini, you don't really have to get lean. So in my opinion, T3, there's absolutely no need for use of T3.
Yeah. You just
There's
think riff.
use T3. Like, don't get me wrong, I will probably use a little bit of T3.
Yeah.
Just to counterbalance the obviously my metabolism slowing down.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I will use it. And the condition that I need to get in is probably 10% more. Like my stage condition is like, my shape at like 14 weeks out is probably like bikini. Stage shape for bikini girls.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's the difference. Like you shouldn't really need T3 to get in shape for a bikini girl. A little bit of Clen, yes, a little bit, yeah, probably. However, like I've got girls like Jade, she doesn't use anything. So apart from Himbine, which Himbine's fine. So in terms of fat burners, she don't use anything at all. So yeah.
Okay. And would you say basically with T3 the risk to reward isn't worth it pretty much?
I really don't think you should need it.
Okay.
Pretty much, like to get in shape for a bikini girl, I really don't think you should need it.
To be honest,
that's just my point of view, though. Like, if people use it, that's fine. Like, I'm not scrutinising anyone for using anything. Like, I don't care what people use. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we all use. It's fine. Like, I don't care what you use, but like my mentality is for a bikini girl, you don't really need to be lean. So, in my opinion, T3 is probably not needed.
Okay, fine.
Interesting.
So just essentially to achieve that condition, you can do it without. So there's no need for it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Like if you can do something without, would you just use something for the sake of using it?
No, there's no point.
No.
It's an expense. It risks your health. There's no point.
Yeah.
It does amaze me though. Like, I'm working with someone now, and he's come to me and he's told me his previous cycles, and the coach, previous person, just really did not give a shit. He didn't tell him about health supplements, didn't tell him about fuck all. And I'm like, are you mental? you know when you just get angry? I'm sure you get loads of them where people come to you and they go, "Oh, Kuba, this person had me run this, and this," and they just didn't care about my health. You must.
I think people don't realise that I think gear use will have a negative impact one way or another somewhere down the line. And I think because it doesn't happen overnight, I think people are just happy banging it in.
To chance it.
You know what I mean? They're just happy like, oh, yeah, it's I feel all right. If I feel all right, yeah, I'm going to use it. That's fine.
Right, so your top 5 health subs. Anyone that's enhanced listening to this.
Yeah.
5 health subs from Kuba, go.
Nordic Oil. Vital Support by JP, Love Heart by JP, Krill Oil, that's 4 in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kurkumi as well.
Cool.
Okay.
What was the first one? Nordic
Oil.
It's just a really good omega-3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very, very good omega-3. Yeah.
Would you say krill oil and Nordic oil are very similar?
Similar but different.
If you could,
similar but different.
Because essentially,
if I was to pick one, I'd pick Nordic Oil. However, krill oil has been shown to have really, really good benefits on HDL. So I always use both.
And what was that on HDL? You say Nordic?
The krill oil has a really positive effect on it.
Yeah.
So essentially, krill oil is it also comes from the sea, but it's just like a little plankton that they literally harvest it from, essentially. But obviously, omegas from actual fish.
Yeah.
So they sort of achieve the same thing, but like you said, krill oil has more of a benefit on HDL. Did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to touch on obviously side effects, I've heard a lot of bodybuilders saying that they are donating blood to get around some of the situations.
Yeah, it's just to thin your blood out, really. So I think 2 times a year is perfect to donate blood. So if you can do it. Yeah. But again, that's if you're prone to it. So you need to get your blood work done. If you get your blood work done and your blood's pretty thick, so get it done. But if it's not, do you really need to get blood?
You don't.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Right.
Mad. It's all a puzzle, isn't it? Okay, this is an obvious one. I know we are all probably going to know the answer to this, but it's obviously from someone who's obviously just getting into the gym, wants to make some progress.
Yeah.
And obviously he's got a chance to ask Kuba. He wants to ask him. His question is, if he is to change up the food sources that he's eating, so obviously your protein sources, he's eating whatever he's eating. If he's to swap around his protein sources, will that fast forward his progress?
What do you mean?
Right. So here's his diet: meal 1 to 6. Yeah. Say he's eating chicken, beef, salmon, eggs. Okay. Yeah. His question is basically, you know, like people use the expression "shock the body." Yeah.
Okay.
If he Kuba's eyebrows set off.
Don't think you can shock the body with.
You've got to confuse yourself and then shock yourself, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So I think his question is if you confuse the body with what protein sources you're giving it to keep it guessing, will that fall with why?
I don't think it's that deep.
It's just a serious question. Obviously, we all know the answer, but he obviously wanted to have a reason.
I just think he's confused in it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's good to have some variation.
Absolutely not. It's just like when people think, yeah, bro, I'm taking 500 mg of testosterone, yeah? So if I take 500 mg of sus, yeah, I'll be better one out, yeah? No. Fucking no. I mean,
this is an example with my very first coach. What he did was, literally, I didn't really have much experience with gear, but it's the weirdest thing, the way he run gear. So every sort of 4 or 5 weeks, he'd just completely change what I was on. But he'd put me on long esters, short esters. So he'd randomly stick me on Boldenone for like 4 weeks, and then stick me on Tritren, and then stick me on fucking Deca. It's just the weirdest fucking thing ever. But it was like, oh, we need to...
That is like one way to get like loads of sides and no gains.
But do you know what he's doing? He's gone, oh, this kid knows fuck all about gear. Let's make as much money as possible.
Pretty much, probably, yeah.
Every 4 weeks, yeah, easy peasy.
Ironically, he did also sell gear. So that makes sense.
That's mental.
But yeah, back to the point of food, he was like, oh, it'll keep it fresh. It'll keep your body guessing. At the time, obviously, I was naive as fuck.
Keep what fresh?
Apparently, keep your body guessing was his reasoning. There's no scientific explanation.
Is it a chicken breast? Is it a salmon? Is it egg whites? Oh man,
what a guy!
Pardon?
What a guy! Love that
guy.
Oh mate, it was a very, very odd time. This was the same coach that tried to make me eat kangaroo.
Tried to make what?
He put kangaroo meat on my diet.
Kangaroo? Why not? We're like kangaroo. Why not?
Mental.
Yeah. Right. You got any other questions, Dan?
We do have another question. My question someone asked this was how, obviously, I know, me and Jamie know the background of Kuba. He used to work on the doors.
Yeah.
And Jamie also mentioned he used to drink Coke and tuna.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can you give us, what was the Coke and tuna thing about?
Oh. When the first bodybuilding gym I ever trained at. Just one sec. Hey.
I'm going to run toilet as well.
One sec, boys. My dog, someone's come to the door. My dog's
right.
Hey, can you get the dog, please? Jesus.
Christ, what's someone come to the door?
Yeah, if somebody comes near the door or to the door, the dog just goes mental.
Yeah, mad.
So yeah, when I was the first gym I ever trained at, that's pretty much what they did. There was like, because there was too lazy to eat, so it was blending tuna with Coke. So is that what I need to do? So as you can imagine, I was going to school with like a 2-litre bottle of tuna and Diet Coke.
Oh,
And like just boiled potatoes. So I was like, I'd be sat there in classroom drinking tuna and eating boiled potato. So
you should do that for a Kuba YouTube video. There's one for you. Tuna and Coke drinking challenge, mate. That would be one to watch.
Mate, disgusting. But I've done it, been there, done it, got the t-shirt. Obviously, when I worked the doors, because I didn't really have time to eat the food, I would normally blend like chicken and sweet potato, or chicken and oats, chicken and cream of rice. It would be quite often I would blend chicken and cream of rice, to be honest. That would go down pretty easy. So 200 grams of chicken and cream of rice, or 2 tins of tuna and cream of rice with like a bit of cordial.
Yeah, that must have taken a while to get used to, though, surely.
To be honest, mate.
You just don't care.
Nah, like if somebody told me, right, eat some dog shit and you'll grow.
Like, you do it.
Okay. Obviously, I won't do it now, but like, you know, back in the day, I was a bit naive and...
Yeah, Jamie probably still do it now.
Do what?
Yeah.
We're joking.
Am I going to have to listen back to this?
Yeah. Listen when it's live, don't worry.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake.
Mad. So, I mean, if you got, obviously, being a bodybuilder, you got to eat your food, right? And there's certain people like yourself that are privileged. They're allowed to eat at work. They can, get around their meals nice and quickly. But for someone that is working 9-5 on their feet, can't sit down and eat a meal, how would you give them, what advice would you give them?
I would probably blend some food. I've actually got a couple of people that work in like factories and stuff, and on the breaks, they do get a meal. However, I think 2 of the meals that while they're at work, they have to be shakes, unfortunately. Yeah. It's better than actually not eating. So we do use shakes with people like that obviously have a little bit for time. Yeah. However, most of the people that I work with right now, they're either coaches or PTs, or they've got their own businesses. So I'm pretty lucky to have that kind of clientele. However, if you are in a situation where you cannot obviously sit down and eat, and obviously you push for time for whatever reason, whatever your job is. So I've done it before when I worked the doors. I had no time to stand there and eat a full meal. So I would often obviously blend chicken and cream of rice, or chicken and oats, or tuna and cream of rice. Oh. So at the end of the day, you've got to do the necessary, to be honest. And like, if you want it bad enough, right? If you want it bad enough, you will always find a way, no matter what.
So Kuba's Cafe opening soon, mate. Tuna and Coke.
£2.50 a go, mate.
I love that.
You've got to bring your own. You've got to bring your own Coke, though.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to tune out and blend up.
Oh my
god. Do you think that if you were to have a meal replacement shake, it'd be better off blending chicken and cream of rice than cream of rice and whey, for example?
I'd probably, if it were like a client, I'd probably use cream of rice and whey.
Yeah.
However, if it was me, I never really like to use a protein source more than twice a day.
Okay.
And it will say with the clients, it all depends on the situation and what the other diet would look like, that other meals in the diet.
Yeah.
So it just all depends. But yeah, I'd never ask anyone to blend the food like that, because I think majority of people just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Mental.
You can better blend the chicken.
Yeah, just blend some whey, mate, with some almond butter and oats.
Blended chicken mojito, lovely.
Yeah, but sure, I mean, seriously speaking now, is it protein for protein? Can you compare the protein in chicken to the protein in whey? Is it the same quality? What's your opinion?
I'd say so, yeah. As long as you're not overdoing that sauce.
Yeah.
So if you probably eat chicken 4 times a day, you're going to get to a point where your body probably won't even digest it.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be like feeling sick thinking about it. So
yeah,
it's the same way. If you nail whey 4 times a day, your body's going to be like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll give it up to you guys that blended the food, man. That sounds mental. That does sound like my worst nightmare.
Got to know what you need to do.
How long have we been on for? I think we've been on for an hour and a half. Did you want to touch on, obviously, bodybuilding relationships? You compete, and obviously Megan competes.
Yeah.
Do you think, in terms of prepping, would you prep together? Would you prep away from each other? Do you guys have like a tactic you work towards?
Yeah, we prefer to prep together, yeah.
Okay.
It works a lot better. When you prep together, you're both in the same kind of mind frame.
Yeah.
And when you prep together, you both kind of, like, one of you's not going to be like, yeah, I want to go out for a meal. Because, like, you're both prepping. So I think it puts a lot less pressure on your relationship, to be honest. But again, it's irrelevant. If someone really loves you and someone's really supportive of you, even if they're not into competing, they will just put up with it and just ride it out and ride the way, because they know how much it means to you, and they will probably just stand by you and do what needs to be done. But yeah, for me, it's definitely a lot easier prepping together, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the plan, obviously, with me and Georgia, to do our next prep together.
Yeah.
It'll make life a lot easier.
It will. Because then both of you guys, you enjoy your social life as well.
Yeah.
So I think it won't be fair, one of you, to do prep without another. And I think if you both do it together, I think it's going to be much easier and much less harsh in your relationship, to be honest.
Definitely.
Yeah, here's G at home and me and Jamie are out flipping Ibiza. G, you want to come out for some disco biscuits, man?
Cheeky prep writers, man. Just sending them messages like, "Oh, I love you, man." Non-stop fun.
She's probably just reply back with like this while she's doing his steps.
Just a little okay.
Not even okay, mate. Just K.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know any other way. I've only either been single or dated someone. Whilst I've been into bodybuilding, I've only ever been single or dating someone that's into bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know any other way, but I think I'm quite lucky in that sense. Obviously, she understands it. She knows to weigh my food out. If I don't have time, for example, she helps me out a lot with it. So, like, for example, if I'm proper stressed for time, like, she'll cook my food, and it just makes life a lot easier. And I'll do the same for her, of course, as well. But I feel like if I was dating someone that wasn't into it, I'd always have the worry that they weren't weighing my food out properly, or they might be using oil or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just like little stresses.
Imagine blaming your prep on your girlfriend. Didn't come first because baby like 10 grams of oil with my chicken.
You'd have to educate them.
Yeah.
You'd have to educate them. Quite a few of my friends are with people that aren't competing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's doable. As long as they know, like, they know they
special kind of woman, though, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. But the thing is, though, if she's not that type of woman, is she the one? Probably not.
Yeah.
Prototype woman.
Yeah, right. She needs to be that kind of woman.
Right, the last question we want to ask you. Danny loves to ask this question.
Oh, God. He's reminded me. Me and Jamie have this conversation about 20,000 times a day, right? And everyone that's been on a podcast, I've had to ask them because I've got an opinion and I want your opinion. So,
SB needs
don't cut me off. Don't cut me off.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you.
No, shut up. I reckon, listen. I reckon Jamie's leg development would be way better without SBDs. True or false? If you say...
Squats alone, SBDs, yeah. Anything else? No.
Single ply or nothing?
Single ply.
Okay.
So only SBDs.
For squats, if you're squatting, barbell squatting, SBDs, yeah, all day. Yeah. The way you've got to look at it is like, if you're squatting as you should be, and it's not a low bar squat where like you're leading with your fucking hips, glute and hamstrings. Like if you're squatting the way we squat, as Jamie knows, you're leading with your knees. So you're aiming for a lot of knee flexion, and again, it's all about your quad. So the way you've got to look at it, the bar path is straight down. So there's a lot of weight going directly down at your knees. Yeah. So SBDs for squats, yes, 100% for the safety aspect and more confidence as well.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean wear SBDs when like super fucking tight. There still needs to be like a little bit of leeway in them.
Yeah.
So SBD for squats, and then anything else, just single ply, normal sleeves.
Yeah.
However, like, don't get me wrong, mate. I've done 6-plate squat, like bare knee before.
Yeah.
But like my knees have suffered from it. So I would never free weight squat again without SBDs, because anything above 3-4 plates, when you're handling anything above 4 plates, in my opinion, there's always going to be a bit of risk there. And I think, what would you rather do? Risk it wearing single plies or no ply, and potentially get a knee injury? Even your squat could be perfect, but in that given day, an inch could be wrong way. You could stand an inch wrong way, and it could fuck your knee potentially.
So essentially, keeps the joint in place better.
Yeah, definitely. So it's one of them. Don't get me wrong. I do think they get overused. Like when I see people wear super tight SBDs and then they're getting on like hack squat or pendulum, and they're like, boom, boom, just bouncing off. I'm like, mate, you're gonna get nothing out of this. But I think the only time you get excused for SBDs is with a barbell squat.
I think we need an SBD. We need a check on JV sleeves, mate. They look very, very bungee.
They don't, bro.
To be honest, I think they're okay. They're not too tight.
There's a bit of slack on the back, man. I can put my fingers in there.
You fucking can't, bro.
I can. So would you say SBDs for any vertical squat, including Smith, barbell, safety?
Yeah.
Okay. And then hack squat, single ply, leg press, single ply.
Yeah, unless you're doing the Cybex hack, then
definitely. Or the fucking Watson. Or the Watson.
The Watson hack's not bad. It's the pendulum.
I will put a disclaimer. I didn't have SBDs on.
What?
I had no SBDs on.
Oh, really?
On the Cybex.
Real man.
I just had the strength shot knee sleeves.
Yeah, I like the single ply ones, man.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, good.
I probably need to grab a pair of those as well, to be honest, because I couldn't go bareback on a leg press.
Bareback on a leg press, nice one. Right, guys, let's call it a day. Kuba, mate, thank you very much for coming on. Very much appreciated. And
cheers, boys.
If you guys are watching this, you don't know who Kuba is, all the socials will be in the description. Please do head over there, check him out, give him a follow. You will see this guy. You're making your pro debut this year, Alicante.
Yeah, October.
Keep a sharp eye out on this guy. He's going to do some damage, and hopefully one day you'll be holding the torch for the UK, yeah?
One day.
That's the one. Right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Kuba.
Ciao. Thanks, Kuba. Bye-bye.
See you later, man.